Welcome, everyone, to episode 423 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Ventilaresco. I write stuff and podcasts too, and today I conclude The Cloud Diver. I was hoping to get one more reader in, but couldn't find anyone, and that's okay. I was really right near the end, so today you're getting a double dose of it. I conclude the last chapter of the main story, and I present to you a few little extras of the Lost Levels to tide you over to book 2, which will be out hopefully sometime next year. But before I begin, I kind of want to say a quick little thank you to everybody, actually. When I did this 6 months ago, I wasn't sure people would be interested in it. I mean, yeah, it's my story, and yeah, I'm proud of it, and yeah, all those things. But it's one thing to be proud of your story, it's another thing to share it in front of the audience. And I learned an incredible amount in the last 6 months. It's been exactly 6 months to the day I did it. We're done this story. And I'm proud of it. I really am. This is definitely my first novel. And I owe so many thank yous to so many people. Lance Bond, buddy, I love you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Alan Michelle, my editor, thank you. To everybody that's read it, to everybody that's liked it, disliked it, everybody, thank you for listening for the last... since March, since the COVID began. So hopefully, now that I've ended this, that the whole COVID thing won't disappear tomorrow too. Hey, stranger things have happened. But yeah, I'm proud. Like I said, C.S. Lewis was my hero. Telling your story in the face of darkness is, what we do. John 12 Hawks is one of my favorite authors. And one of the things he said was that art is ultimately the expression of hope. The world's a cooler place this year. What's a hug worth? And we've all had to ask that question this year, unfortunately. And is a hug worth dying for? 6 months later, the answer I think is yes. The right people, absolutely. It's worth everything in the world. That's my answer. Maybe it's not yours, and I'm good with that, but it's mine. But in a time as dark as this, as uncertain as this, as fearful as this, you need light, you need hope, and you need to be able to do the things you need to do, and that's why I did what I did, and I'm happy I got to tell my story in front of an audience. So guys, thank you very much for listening. But wait, there is more to come. But first, let's get to the end of the story, shall we?
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
The Cloud Diver. Final stage. Chapter 6. Please stand by. Restoring. 75%. Adam's beams deflect away from me. For some reason, they couldn't touch me anymore. Adam tried a few different tricks with the staff and fumed each time and deflected the beams of light with my drumsticks. You leveled up. Congratulations. Killing you will be much more difficult now. Adam sounded exasperated. Difficult enough to try stopping? I said with a bit of pleading in my voice. I'm a professional, Johnny shot back, dropping the staff and assuming one of those stupid fighting stances I had tried when I trained with Gunblade. Gunblade had made me realize how foolish this whole fighting thing was. Fighting stance indicated a set course of action. Someone that stood still without any aggressive signs could still strike swiftly with a deadly attack. I felt the sting of bullets she shot me with. I didn't have the gun to shoot him, though, just these strange drumsticks and medicine patch. Some instinct took hold of me as Adam came at me. It caused me to point at sticks. A tingle came over me. I could have sworn I heard the faintest bit of music. Emerald lightning exploded from the sticks and struck Adam, throwing him across the entranceway and into the room he came from. The bubble around Stevie Y burst and he was free. Brains. I turned as a punch-drunk dresser backed away from Gunblade. She was looking at him as he was a piece to meet the car down. What was left of Teacher was fluster and concern. This hasn't gone to plan at all, Adam fumed. He tried standing up and groaning at the pain I'd caused him. He sat right back down in his keister. This part of the job has officially become work, Chester. Brains. I swear I heard a yes when Chester replied. Was I starting to understand him? Why do you want to do this, I asked, hoping to stop the fight. I suppose it's the part where I'm supposed to spill the beans. I'm not that kind of professional, John. Adam moved towards the path. I wasn't going to change his mind. I had no idea what I was doing, but it wasn't dangerous. As long as I kept myself feeling confident, things were good. Once he was back on his feet, Adam frowned at Dreamkiller and made it vanish. While he no doubt pondered some new and fantastic way to kill me, I checked the room where Gunblade, Stevie, and I were going to link up to Q-Rob's. It looked like a cave of rocks and lava decorating the room. The air felt humid. Was there somehow a volcano inside? Then, I saw the Promethean Giant that threatened us at the very beginning of my time in here, and I was instantly filled with dread. All that calmness I acquired battling Adam vanished. I stared into the eyes of the same monster that hunted us down near to kill us not too long ago. It was time to run. I went into the opposite direction as fast as I possibly could with Stevie Y in tow. Gunblade stopped being the crimson blur when she noticed his barrel past Chester and her. When Adam joined us in running out of here, it ended the contest between Chester and Gunblade. She sped out of there. Chester wasn't so lucky. I nearly felt sorry for the zombie when the giant smashed him with the backhand. Chester flew back into the chest room and bounced several times off the black and white floor, creating a permanent indentation in the ground. Chester was perfectly conscious when he landed. He had a bit of a faraway look in his eyes as he lay there, making no attempt to get up. Chester! Adam raced toward him, keeping his distance from the angry giant, trying to salvage his partner in crime from the wreckage Chester had created with his body. Our Promethean adversary considered pursuing us down the long hall. The guards stared unblinking as we ran by them. Adrenaline is a great thing, but sooner or later, your body can't compensate for all the damage that you were going through in the moment. All the pains I had received from my battle with Adam were taking their toll. My lungs especially were telling me it was time to slow down for a second or two, and unless I was imagining things, I heard Gunblade panting for breath as well. We were not going to be able to outrun this beast, and even though I was good with some kind of lightning superpower, I had a feeling it would do as much damage as Gunblade's barrage of bullets did. Thoughts of trying to summon my Emerald Lightning entered the equation. I thought about all the force I saw with the Gunblade ricocheting off the walls and connecting with Chester. That hadn't worked. Another gun. Was my lightning going to accomplish anything? Even if it could do something, how could I call it? I'd done it instinctively with Adam, but now that I was coherent and thinking about things, I wasn't sure I could do it again. Adam and Chester were one thing. This was something beyond us, more a force of nature than a program. Fighting wasn't an option. Would it listen to me a second time? It had let me talk the first time. I was tired. All things considered, I'd only die faster if this didn't work. I stopped. Couldn't believe I was going to do this, but it said that it was what I was on the last time. Why not? I whistled to Stevie Y, who thought I'd lost my line. The letter, I boomed. What? The letter! My shout was thunderous and stopped everyone from moving. From thin air, Stevie Y pulled out the letter I grabbed at when this all started and handed it to me. I faced the giant and held the letter at. You give back? It asked. I nodded. The giant snatched the letter, and nearly yanked my arm off in the process, and cradled it to his heart. We all stared in stunned silence as the giant walked away, reading the letter and clutching like it was the greatest treasure it ever held. As the giant walked away, I couldn't help but laugh like a maniac. I had been right from the start. The Promethean Giant had been Michael from the love letter. I was right. I breathed a sigh of relief and collapsed on the ground, letting myself every moment of everything I had just gone through. My torso felt like I had been played like a musical instrument at a party until it couldn't be played anymore. Adam and Chester eyed us warily. Gunblade and Stevie Y stood beside me, ready to go another round with these guys if they made a mood. Well, this is awkward, Adam conceded. You see us from that monstrosity. Brains, Chester groaned. Adam was the only thing keeping the zombie monster upgrade. I had the feeling they were as spent as we were. What am I to do? Our employers don't tolerate failure, and yet... Adam stroked his goatee. Gunblade stepped up, holding her last Q-Rob. You guys there? She said. Absolutely, laptop transmitter. We've been recording the whole battle. Adam laughed and tried to brush it off. That doesn't mean anything. We're in a police station, I answered. If we drop dead suddenly, the route recording would go in their hands. And lawyers are quite messy. You're barely legal, Adam screamed. So are you, Stevie Ray retorted. Brains, said Chester in a melancholy voice. I didn't understand exactly what he said there, but I saw that both Adam and Chester keeping distance. Maybe it was because they were beaten up, but maybe there's something to be said about honor. I had just saved them. I may regret this, Adam acknowledged. For now, we part ways. He frowned. I hate losing. We watched him carry Chester away from the carnage, leaving us alone for the time being. For a while, we just sat there, or lay there, in my case. Silence was satisfying after everything I'd been through. Is it over? Stevie Y asked. This part is over, Gunblade said. We have data to deliver, and after? Wait, I said. I don't see how delivery is going to free me. Easy, my dear human, Laptop's voice boomed from the cube rob. We are open sourcing the cure. Anyone and everyone can download it at any time. Public knowledge should discourage Void Life or anyone else from sending someone after you. After all, they have access to the knowledge too. Will I still be wanted? I didn't like the idea of being a wanted man. Despite my now countless acts of insanity, the idea of being shot at and a wall from my Void I felt very uncomfortable. We did blow up a good chunk of the building, Gunblade pointed out. Yeah, we had done that. Void Life and I were destined to be enemies. What was I going to do now? So what's next, Stevie Y asked. We go... Well, that was the thing. I had no idea what was going to come after. After all, the cure was out there now. Gunblade didn't need me anymore, at least not for this. That didn't mean there weren't other things going on here. I had my new look, for example. Where did that come from? What did that mean exactly? Adam said I leveled up. I wasn't in some kind of video game, was I? And then there was the cloud itself. There were unicorns that fired rainbows and giants with love letters. Adam had right about one thing. This place was a treasure trove. It would be fun to see more of it, at least when I wasn't wanted by evil corporations. Gunblade, meanwhile, was arguing with her eagerness. I don't want to, she growled. He did stop the giant, Yellow answered matter-of-factly. He is surprisingly useful, Laptop conceded. Gunblade hummed. Alright, let's discuss it, Gunblade said, admitting the fate. Silent mode. With that, the voices of Laptop and Yelna disappeared. And all I heard was Gunblade listening to the two of them. In spite of the occasional protest, the stone-faced exterior was cracked in response to whatever was being said at the other end of the hearing. Laptop and Yellow were giving her a lecture on something. They were winning, too, judging from her behavior. Finally, she sighed. I'm just too nice, she said to no one in particular. She looked at me. I don't pretend to know exactly what you're going to do with us. She had some guilt in her eyes. There are things going on you probably should be brought up to speed on. Thoughts of the flashing knife in the couch when I first heard the Library of Alexandria passed through my mind. I said to keep silent and let her finish. But until you figure out what you want to do, Gunblade sulked, talking to the ear again. I heard two different voices muffled something that sounded like profanities in her ear. The voices sounded louder and grew more insistent in any case. You can stay with us. Oh, thank goodness. It didn't have to be alone. She cringed at what she saw and put her hand out. No hugging. Huh? I said, deflated. I wanted to hug. Just don't, she said. No hugging. I don't do hugs. Handshake? She shook her head. How about a high five? High five? Gunblade blinked. You've never had a high five? No. We were both at a loss. What kind of person never experienced a high five? Place your hand out like this, I said, standing my hand in a high five. With great reluctance, she held her hand out. I slapped it. I wanted to cry. Her hand was so hard. Ow! I cried. Is that supposed to happen? She grinned a little. Kind of, Stevie Y. I started laughing. Quiet, you, I said, protesting. Let's get out of here, Stevie Y said, chortling. That's a pretty good way to end the story, I think, or a good way to start the end of the story, at least, you know. Gunblade doesn't really do high fives very well. Huh. Who knew? Kind of a fun way, I think, to wrap that up. Wait, there is more. Here is the final part of the story, the lost levels. Setting up a little bit for things to come. So let's just get to that, shall we? The Lost Levels, Chapter 1. Feed Void Life. Void Life. At Void Life. Void Life verified. We would like to apologize to the people of this great nation for the recent dragon flu. We have taken measures to ensure this will not happen again. I wish I could say it all turned out perfectly, that life moved on and the virus cured and people lived their lives. But the dragon flu managed to keep infesting the world. New reports flooded the airwaves every day. Fatalities have dropped to a tiny percentage, but this was one problem that was here to stay. It wasn't all bad, however. Open sourcing the data on the 1917 flu created quite a bit of activity in various towns. Doctors tried a variety of ancient remedies and new concoctions to combat this draconic outbreak with varying degrees of success. People were flocking to different places, trying new and different things to get better. Corporations like Lazarus, who had wanted nothing to do with this whole plague business, were now shamed and had no choice but to enter the race for the cure to this mysterious new disease. Vaccines were being developed, and what remained of the government by the people and for the people was debating ways on what to implement on the populace. Progress was messy and slow, but it seemed as if people were moving forward. Adam's face appeared on the Void Light feed during one of our visits to the tower. He had been busted for extortion and attempted murder. With Void Light's alleged involvement with the virus, a rumor Yelena cleverly suggested we start once we uploaded the data on it. Someone had to take the fall. I felt sorry for him, strangely enough. I'd been where he was. I'm glad I wasn't there anymore. I was getting acclimated to the library. Dust and mildew were constant enemies. I had to use a broom to sweep and mop and dishes. Don't even get me started. There were some things that Void Life took care of that I wish were still taken care of. Dishes were my nemesis. But this doing things yourself thing gives you something. Accomplishment? There was something to that. The crew was taking some getting used to. The laptop seemed to forget my name half the time, and the other half it seemed as if he ignored me. Stevie White and him were forming a friendship of some kind. It's been interesting. And Yelena just liked trouble. She blackmailed, seduced, and tried to take over a few cartels from the Chimera Corporation. And that was just this past Tuesday. As for Gunblade, we sparred a lot. I was exploring my newfound powers in the virtual world. This involved me being hit a lot. But trying to fight seems to involve that quite a bit. I grew tougher. I wondered what Atlas was doing, and what else my newfound friends involved themselves with. They hadn't me let into everything yet, and maybe they wouldn't. I was good with that for now. I still had things to figure out. My old life was over, and my new life was a work in progress. But I'm not worried about the future at the moment. There's only one question I have left. Would my parents be proud of me? They'd never really gotten to see me at Void Life. They said all the right things, but I wasn't sure they believed my happiness. Now, I didn't think they'd like the danger I was in. The APB was still out there, but I did smile more now. Funny how that works. So today I sit at their gravestone with red roses in hand. I'm going to tell them my story. I think they'd like to hear it. There's no way to know if they would be proud of me. I'm not sure I'm proud of me yet, but I'm working on it. 2. Feed Void Life. Void Life. At Void Life. Void Life Verify. A statement from our CEO at G. Bender CEO is forthcoming. Once again, we apologize. Failure was not to be tolerated. Napoleon, as Johnny liked to refer to her, was really named Valentina Zephyr. She was the operations manager of Void Life Industries and was currently fuming at the events that transpired with the Ouroboros cartel. The plan had been simple. Kill Wheeler, grab a stupid dame and his supervisor pretend it didn't exist, and keep the virus data in her hands. It was simple, elegant, and guaranteed to keep her boss's timetable right on schedule. Somehow in all this, that bumbler Adam had failed. Once public scrutiny had breathed the faintest rumor that Rodney had been involved in the creation of the virus, steps had to be taken. Adam needed to be an example. Killing him was too simple. He was better served as both messenger and message. And while some messengers could deliver their contents dead, the quantum prison Alcatraz, the inescapable 11-dimension hole they had put him in, would serve as an excellent example to those that failed her. Valentina hated failure. Only her master, Bender, hated failure more. Bender had been the great catalyst in her life. Before Bender, Valentina had been a wandering, directionless meat puppet that served whatever corporation hired her. Bender had approached her after his company merged with a previous employer. He had been cordial, friendly, and at first seemed to take an unhealthy interest in her. She thought she was attracted to her. Men and women had approached her for rather unusual traits in the past. However, after the first meeting, he had assured her that the interest was mostly professional. Somewhere along their first conversation, she had realized he was testing her. Something about his mentor had indicated he was waiting for something. She had put up with this until she snapped and demanded Bender tell her why he looked at her the way he did. Bender told her the truth. Fear gripped her at first. I mean, when you find out your employer is far more than he appears to be, you feel small, truly small, for the first time ever. Once she accepted the truth, Bender revealed his plans for her. Ambitious barely scratched the surface. Whole new worlds were out there and possible. He needed a more human touch while he performed on the public stage of perception. And though she barely qualified, she enjoyed the challenge this presented. It gave her purpose and focus. She made arrangements far and wide using Void Life's excessive research and development resources to take steps to initiate this grand plan, including develop this new flu nanovirus. It had been her that had carefully made sure to hit the small towns. It wouldn't do to infect the workers of Void Life. They were easier test subjects, sure, but business was business, and profits needed to be made. While the new world was coming, the old world had to be maintained. For now. This cloud Wheeler had found by accident had created a few surprises. Other, more qualified divers than Wheeler had tried to recreate the 13th floor, and even with some very generous offerings, Adam refused to reveal how he'd access the system. He said it had something to do with honor. Valentina knew to throttle him at that answer. The cloud was a challenge and an opportunity. She needed to exploit it somehow. That bitch had been the biggest surprise of all. Wheeler had somehow latched his fate onto her. As much as she deserved to be extinguished, Valentina stayed her hand. It was the wrong time. Better to ensure your enemies were under watch until the time was right. Besides, she hadn't yet figured out how to make her disappear without Bender finding out. I trust the operation has been going well. Bender had walked in without making a sound. It startled Valentina. Yes, sir. She almost managed not to stutter in front of him. How much delay is there? Not as much to be feared, Valentina replied. It's true they're working on reversing what we engineered sooner than anticipated, but they will find the modifications difficult to remove. Bender nodded, pleased with the news. By then she'll be on phase 2. Did you find her? Somehow, he always knew. If he hadn't been who he was, Valentina would be far more upset. Still, she couldn't quite hold down the fury in her stomach on the way he mentioned her. Not yet. The bite wasn't too visible, was it? You shall come back to us in time, Bender assured her. That was what bothered her the most. Why was she so favored and not her? Didn't Valentina do the work required? Yes, sir, she finally managed to say. Bender talked to her for a time, and she smiled and nodded at some of her ideas for the next phase. Soon, Wheeler would be back under her thumb, moving the pieces where they needed to go, and then the world would be changed forever, and the new world would begin. All worked as he willed it. Chapter 3. Hey, honey. Daddy isn't going to be around for a little while. It turns out that his boss is a vindictive word rhyming with witch that wants to punish him for doing his job too well. I won't be able to get you that pony anytime soon. That said, if you want to wait 5 to 10 years, I'll get you one, I promise. In the meantime, attach this email as something to tide you over. I found him in my last job and wanted you to take care of him. His name is Roy. Put him in your device and he'll be there. Love you lots. Take care of Chester for me. Daddy. P.S. Your new friend wants to say hi. Say hi, Roy. I'm Roy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the Cloud Diver. I couldn't kill Roy. Actually, I'll tell you a little fun story about that. So the idea of him using a unicorn came from my sister. She goes, yeah, can you use the unicorn? We'll get to the rainbow part in another day. But the unicorn came about because of my sister. And I got this look in my eyes, like, yeah, I can do that. She knew. Somehow she knew. And she goes, you can't kill it. But, nope. And she gets this really pouty face going, and this look at her, you can't kill it, Josh. I'm like, fine, I can't kill it. I won't kill it. Fine. And that went in a whole other life of its own. When Trump was elected, everybody was depressed. This is when I had this idea, and somehow I think it was Virginia who started giving me the signature of unicorn farting rainbows. I'm like, okay, let's go with it. Hey guys, I need a name for unicorn farting rainbows, and you got everybody's list watching this because I got like 60 names. I had names coming to me for weeks on end. It was an incredible thing, and I'll never forget that for as long as I live. And, yeah. So Roy G. Biv, named by Robert J. Sawyer and Destiny Caverly. Destiny did it first. Rob did say it second, though. Roy G. Biv, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, that is the end of the Cloud Diver to be read. So what's going to happen next? A couple things. Well, I got 4 little bonuses before I do Alice Zero. Alice Zero will be the next book I read on the podcast, and I'm going to be calling out specific for at least 4 weeks of it, and it'll start at the end of October and go to the end of November, and then I'll have 3 hopefully special little weeks, and then we'll figure out what I do next year. I don't know yet. Maybe I do The Watcher, maybe I do my new one. I don't know. Here's what I do know. This was a cool experiment. I learned so much doing this as an audiobook author, and you're going to see the results of that in the next 4 weeks. Duat Tarot by Brad Anderson is coming out. So is, for that matter, my 3 When Worlds Collide panels. You'll get to listen to them live. And it'll be great and wonderful and amazing. But, I mean, if you really, really want to support me, buy my book. Buy this one on Alice Zero. That would be great, guys. I would appreciate that very much. But, even if not, thanks for listening. A lot of you have listened to this, and I've been blown away by that, so thank you very much. That will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so a ton of different ways. Subscribe to the podcast. I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, and Audible, among many, many other platforms. You can find me. Click the RSS feed. Click the subscribe. Let people know I am out there. Buy my books. Buy The Cloud Diver. Written by me, illustrated by Lance Bond. Buy Alice Zero. Buy my merchandise. The merchandise links below. Join my newsletter. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Joshua Pantellaresco. Check out my webpage. However it goes, though, guys, I think the last message I'll leave before I close off this as being done. Your stories matter. Your stories absolutely are important. And in the darkest of times, in the most uncertain and fearful of times, those stories let us know that we are alive and we are making a difference. We talk to each other by story all the time. Stories are such a big fundamental part of life. We talk to each other, communicate. We tell each other stories over and over and over again. What can your story do? It can change the world. It really can. Yes, I'm writing about unicorns that fart rainbows in video games. But I'm also writing about coming out of your comfort zone to something new and bold. And I think now, more than ever, that is the truth. We are all becoming somebody different. And I, for one, can't wait to meet you all when this is over. But until then, keep surfing the chaos. Stay inspired. Thank you very much for reading. Believe in your story, just like I did.
Josh.